Well, hello and welcome to this panel as part of TTG's Adventure and Touring Festival. Now, this panel is titled The Big Return. As you can imagine, it was obviously named prior to the latest government's announcements, which of course took everybody, travel industry and consumers, by surprise. So you might think it's perhaps a little peculiar to be discussing the big return when the government has effectively kiboshed international travel for the month of June, potentially even this summer. But we always like to stay optimistic at TTG, and of course travel will open up, and hopefully sooner rather than later. So in the next half an hour, we're going to be exploring what it means for the touring and adventure sector when international travel does open up once again. With the sector's own unique logistics, a wide range of destinations and travel styles, how will this part of the market reopen, and crucially, how will it be done safely? Well, here to discuss all of this, I am thrilled to be joined today by Ian Powell, Head of Trade Sales at Saga, Tom Morgan, Head of Trade UK and Ireland at Riviera Travel, and Mark Henderson, Head of Product West at Gold Medal. So a huge thank you to all of you for joining us here today. What a rollercoaster year, or 14, 15 months it's been. Firstly, I just want to kick off by asking each of you how you have supported the touring and adventure sector during this pandemic, and also how you've kept your customers and agents engaged in the sector when travel has effectively been shut down, and especially at the moment, how do you keep your clients, who in some parts, are your agents, as well as your customers, engaged? Tom, I'm going to start with you, and then Ian, and then Mark, I'll come to you.
We've had the trade team working throughout the whole pandemic. We felt it's really important to keep those relationships, with our agent partners and be there for them. It's not even just around, because we've not been able to visit travel agents until very recently. We started back out visiting some of frontline agents over the last few weeks, where they've wanted us to pop in to do either training or give them a bit of an update, or even just someone to chat to. But that's been the main thing. Last September and August, we were successful in running about 13 tours to Italy. And even then, just having the trade team around to answer questions, just on what's it like getting to an airport at the moment. Obviously things have changed since then, but it's answering those little questions, and that's how we've really tried to support people. We've done the usual stuff. We've got our portal online for agents to download posters and everything like that, but just having the team there for the agents to talk to has really been the main thing we focused on for the last 12 months. And that's been sort of how we've really tried to focus our support with frontline agents.
Great, thanks. Ian, how about you? How have you kept agents and customers engaged?
Yeah, so I guess firstly, similar to Tom, we've had the trade team working throughout, which I agree with Tom. It's important that agents have that point of contact and that consistency, the people to reach out to. For us, it's been a good opportunity to improve some of our online learning. So we've taken the opportunity to revamp our Saga Experts platform, add some new modules surrounding not just touring, some of our other products as well. I think there's certainly been the opportunity in the last 15 months, while it's been incredibly difficult, there has been the opportunity for agents to do some online learning in their own time. Even during the furlough, obviously, when that was being used by some employers, they were still able to do some kind of some e-learning. So we've taken that opportunity. We're also now using, as we are today, trying to use technology significantly more. It's interesting that pre-COVID, probably we're all guilty of not using what was available to us. And actually we realized in the last year that we can have some really good conversations with travel agent partners. We can have some, and actually with customers as well, via this sort of format, via video calls and things like that. So we're trying to utilize that more, and I think that will become a big part of how we support agents and customers going forward. I think there'll be stuff that comes from the last year that, while it's been incredibly difficult, there will be some positive stuff that comes out of it in the way in which we interact with the trade. And I think from a I guess a travel agent and a customer view, the other point for us has been supporting them with retention. So we've, again, across all of our product, touring included, of course, we've put a huge amount of time and effort to try and give agents all the tools to retain as much business as possible. That's key for all of us, and that's been such a huge challenge for everybody, is business that's going out the other side, bookings that are being cancelled, etc. So we've tried to, as best we can, through our call centre, through the trade team, and through our more flexible offerings and things like reduction in balance payments and stuff like that, we've tried to make it really, really, I guess not easy, but as manageable as possible for travel agents to try and retain as much business as they can.
Okay. And Mark, what about you? How have you supported agents during this awful 14, 15 months?
It's certainly been a really tough time for everyone, and certainly unlike anything we've ever experienced in the industry before. Through the pandemic, from a gold medal perspective, what we've focused on is really about the inspiring future travel. You know, as the dark days in winter in the UK are really depressing, we've inspired customers and, you know, our agent partners to really showcase destinations that they want to experience when the travel does return. And certainly what we've seen recently is those more aspirational destinations being at the top of the sales lists. So, you know, trekking up Mount Kilimanjaro, whether it be sailing down to Antarctica, or even just doing a river cruise on the Amazon in South America. You know, we've really wanted to showcase what Gold Medal can bring to the table with our trade partners. We work with a number of partners to provide our tours. And we've really engaged with our customers to understand how they wanted to interact. And that is really through social media, you know, really rich video content, inspirational copy, and suggested itineraries, not so much focusing on price, because again, this type of holiday is about the experience. You know, it's what is the customer going to see and experience in that destination. So we've really been showcasing that with our agent partners. And again, like Ian said, engaging with agent partners on virtual platforms as well. So we've held 2 Access All Areas where we'll invite our core agent partners to come and meet with our suppliers and our core teams within Gold Medal as well. So we're really engaging on multi levels, not only with our you know, partners directly with sales, with operations, with product, but also putting them in front of our partners as well, so that we can really engage in that way. And just recently, we've launched our little book of incredible journeys, which is 44 pages of inspirational tours across the globe. And that is part of the Incredible Journeys brand that we've brought over from Travel2 into the Gold Medal family. And that really is about that unique experience for the customer and almost bucket list.
So it's about inspiring the customers and getting them excited for when we can travel again. Now, this is called the Big Restart. Travel is going to open it up again. Tom, you mentioned, of course, that you already had some tours running last year. I think you said 13 tours in Italy. Talk to us, all of you, about the kind of big changes that customers are going to see, or perhaps not big changes. You know, maybe it's all lots of things that have gone in the back end. You know, what can agents be telling their customers about what a touring and adventure holiday with each of your brands now looks like? Tom, what about you? Are there changes that you put in last year that have now changed again, or what does it look like?
Yeah, so as well as the tours last, yeah, no, it's not international, but we actually got our first UK tour away on Thursday last week. So whilst the news was less positive around other things, we managed to get a tour out to the Peak District. So there have definitely been changes. You know, it's just trying to make customers feel as safe as possible. So, you know, for example, we're still using big 50-seater coaches. But we've limited it to 25 guests maximum for the time being, to really space people out. Obviously, a lot more hand sanitizer, face masks on board and that sort of thing. We're not allowing customers to, you know, move around seats on the coach, for example. You know, once you've got your seat, that's where you sort of staying for the duration. So things have changed. You know, it is going to be a lot of country specific stuff when we restart as well. So what might be in place for one destination might not be to another. So we're putting, you know, we'll obey by any sort of local restrictions needed. Another thing we've done is we'd also put in place that we're going to pay for all testing needed by the government for customers travelling. So whether that was to a green list country, whether that was, you know, to Portugal or to Iceland at the time, to really give them peace of mind. So we were partnering up with a travel visa company to offer that. So what customers would get is a link, so they had that peace of mind with it as well. And then the other thing we've done as well is, you know, we've introduced 45-day flexible booking for customers as well. So for those customers that still aren't sure about traveling as it gets closer, they can move their holiday for no additional charge. So it's little bits like that we've really introduced around the process to make them feel more relaxed. As a company, our stance at the moment is very much we as destinations appear on the green list that we do travel to, we will go to, but we don't intend to run anything to amber countries or red list countries at all, because we just don't believe customers want to travel there. So they're the main things. But the free testing was something that was very positive. We were getting a lot of Giro bookings up until last Thursday, certainly. But it's been good.
Is that the testing cost? Does that cover the requirements by the UK government as well as international governments?
So yeah, it would get them the UK as required by the UK testing, and we would pay for the test for them to when they arrived at destination as well. So that was for July and August departures. Obviously, we're waiting to see what comes on the next set of green list, and we'll see where we're at with what we can operate. But we did, and we still do plan to honour that for people when we can get travelling. Yeah.
Brilliant. Ian, what about with Saga? What does a touring and adventure holiday look like with Saga? What should agents be telling their customers?
Yeah, so I guess firstly, I guess to cover off some of the more practical things, I guess that Tom's just touched on. So testing, obviously, as we said, it's gonna depend on both UK government, obviously what their policy is around testing, and destinations in terms of what theirs is for coming back in. We similarly, in a similar way to what Tom said, Saga will only operate holidays to green list destinations. Yeah. So amber and red, we similarly won't operate holidays to. Our overriding goal, as I'm sure it is for all, is to maintain obviously the safety of our guests. So we will only operate to green list destinations. We've also partnered with a couple of healthcare providers who can provide testing at a discounted rate. So we've got some new opportunities for our guests to source UK government testing prior to travel at discounted rates, and then we're also now including the return test, that they would take obviously while in resort. So we've adapted our testing offering, I guess, to try and meet what the current requirements are, and obviously enable our customers to do that at a discounted rate and free of charge on their way back into the UK. So I think they're the bits pre-travel. In terms of the experience on the tour, there are going to be some changes, of course. There's some stuff that we have to expect. So social distancing in place, distancing on coaches, so reduced capacity, hand sanitizer, face masks if there's still a requirement. Obviously, again, that depends on both what the UK government decide and the local authorities, depending on where we're travelling to. But actually, once you get outside of those sort of hygiene factors and things that are now becoming the norm, our aim is to try and offer a tour as close to the norm, pre-COVID norm as we can. That's what we're absolutely aiming for. So all of our product team, all of our buyers or operational teams are constantly looking at how can we offer the guests the experience they would expect from a Saga tour without too many of the sort of COVID protocols impacting what they experience. So I don't actually envisage when we begin operations, I don't envisage too much change in terms of what they see, what they experience in a destination, subject of course to where they can go and what's open, etc. But if we're going to a green list destination, we can make the assumption that the majority of things they would go and see and do there are open, and that's why it's green list. So actually we don't envisage there being too much impact in terms of their overall experience. It will just be that they're going to have to, I guess we'll have to comply obviously with these kind of more COVID norms.
It's trying to strike that happy balance, isn't it? Because you want people to feel reassured and safe, but then you don't want to go too far so that the holiday isn't enjoyable and people can't relax. So it's trying to get that balance, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. But I think there are ways in which you can do that really sensibly. I think, Saga is a brand that people know they can trust. We believe that's why we have excellent loyalty from our guests. I think we can demonstrate to them that we've been through the right procedures in terms of the hotels we work with, the tour operator, the suppliers, should I say, resort that we work with, and that we're taking the right steps to keep them safe. Green list obviously being one of those. Our vaccination policy as well, of course, also we believe and hope provides a level of reassurance to them, the fact that they have to be fully vaccinated before they travel with us. So there's things we can do sensibly to say you are safe when you travel with Saga, and that's something that we really want our travel agents to support us in delivering that message to customers. And then when they go on that tour, you deliver hopefully the most normal experience that you can.
Thank you. And Mark, what are you saying to agents in terms of advising their customers? What does a touring and adventure holiday look like with Gold Medal now? Have you put in place similar changes to these guys, or is there anything different?
Yeah, I think, you know, prior to the pandemic, we'd seen a shift in terms of our booking curves and what we'd seen from what our customers were looking for. So we had definitely seen a shift more to small group journeys, you know, and certainly that's something that I think will be more prevalent post the pandemic, because as people want to travel in smaller groups, maybe travel as a family bubble as well, you know, we've certainly tailored our product towards that. And we're obviously working with our core touring partners to make sure that we are communicating their policies to the customer in the most transparent way possible. So that, again, we're giving that reassurance to the customer that their holiday is going to be safe. It's going to be the same experience that they've always had traveling on an adventure and touring holiday, because that's the fundamental reason why you go. You know, you don't want to be a sanitized product at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So what we've also done from our own independent tours, we've seen a real shift into more of that private tour rather than being a seat on coach. So we have really removed that seat and coach option where they might join multiple parties from around the world to more private tours. And that's where we've elevated that product across our platform with the, you know, our partners like Destination Asia or into South America with Condor Travel. So, you know, we're really trying to tailor it to what the customer is telling us and what they're seeing. And certainly, you know, in line with Tom and with Ian, is obviously, again, green list destinations are the core for what we're offering at the moment. And where we know that international borders may not open up till further down the line, we won't take bookings till further in. So if we look at Australia, New Zealand, you know, there's talk of borders not opening until April 2022. So obviously we will not promote push holidays prior to April 2022 onwards. So, you know, we are being quite strict in what we offer out there as well. So we've got to manage expectations. And likewise, we've got a flexible policy in place where up to 45 days before departure, obviously Gold Medal will waive any amendment fees. However, if we are subject to fees from our suppliers, then we may have to pass them on. But obviously that would be discussed at the time with the customer and with the agent. And also the other big piece that we've delivered for the agent community is really as an online system where they can go on and check the most up-to-date restrictions and requirements for entry into those countries. So that is available on goldmedal.co.uk, and you just put in the destination that you're looking to travel to, and it will give you the complete rundown, most up-to-date information possible as well.
Fantastic. That must be keeping your team busy at the moment.
It is indeed, yes.
Mark, you mentioned obviously, you know, things like not advertising Australia and New Zealand until we know when we can travel for definite. But you also mentioned that you've also got quite a lot of demand for bucket list destinations sailing down the Amazon. So people are booking. When are they sort of booking for? What sort of lead times are we looking? Is it the end of 2021, or are still people booking for earlier than that, or is it all about 2022?
Yeah, so over recent weeks, and certainly given the announcements, you know, the booking pattern has significantly changed. What we're seeing is a wider business. 82% of our business is going into 2022, with a very small percentage into 21, and then obviously into 2023. Our normal booking window would be 1 to 3 months before departure, but now it's 9 to 10 months. So really, it has significantly shifted. Now, obviously, that's because restrictions are in place and we can't travel. However, people are looking to that 2022 because they feel more confident that the world will open up by then. So we are definitely seeing that shift, and obviously, we are pushing our marketing and our support to get, you know, the hotels online. We've got a robust ODR process for flights where we can, you know, quote flights outside of date range. And also we're looking at 2023 to get all that into the system and easy for agents to book as well. And
Tom, I'm sure that your UK product is probably doing pretty well. It must be flying off the shelves at the moment. But specifically with regards to international, I think Tom might have frozen slightly. Just with regards to international product, what sort of destinations are looking popular, and what are your sort of lead-in times at the moment? Is it all about 2022 or still 21?
Yes, I mean, 4 weeks up until last week, we had a real strong amount of 21 late bookings, you know, especially into Portugal. Previous to that, and since Thursday's announcement, it has been strongly into 2022. We've seen that for a while. Similar to Mark, it's been around 80%. People booking into 2022. In terms of where they're booking, it's a bit of a mix, really. whilst majority is Europe, because that's our key market and that's our core product, we are seeing considerable amounts of long haul bookings as well still. South Africa's been very strong for us the last few months. Japan and the US and Canada in particular have been very strong for long haul, probably stronger than in other years. Our value of booking has gone up significantly, and people are sort of, it's almost those customers that have, missed out last year now might be missing out this year in their heads. So they're putting that money together and they're going quite big for next year. So yeah, it's predominantly for next year. We are UK tours for this year pretty much sold out, unsurprisingly. People have been busy booking that. But we are still getting a few people who are booking for October time this year to Europe, we're hoping that things will be more relaxed by then. And around the Christmas times, I know sort of Christmas market products, they're selling fairly reasonably as well, because almost Christmas feels like there's a bit of a gap until that happens. So again, that's selling pretty strongly at the moment as well.
Ian, what about with Saga with regards to the touring and adventure side of things? Are you seeing similar patterns?
Yeah, I guess very similar, actually, interestingly, to that which Tom's mentioned in terms of destinations. So I guess we're doing quite well for UK this year, which is, again, becoming the norm, actually, that a lot of people are obviously travelling closer to home. So that's done incredibly well, significantly better than we ever could have imagined. But of course, that's versus, years when people weren't staying so local. In terms of booking profile, majority of it now is back end of this year into next year, as you would expect. Most of our volume is coming through for 2022. And destinations, North America, Canada, absolutely. That has done exceptionally well. I don't know if it's seen as safer potentially with the rise of the speed they're getting through their vaccinations, whether that's driving some customer confidence perhaps, but that's doing exceptionally well. And I would share also Africa, and Tom mentioned South Africa particularly. Always been a touring favourite of us, of Saga customers, and continues to do exceptionally well. And even actually, if we look back during a period of time where they were referring to variants by the name they originated from, and they were talking about South African variant and things like that, actually really interesting that you don't see a massive drop off in future sales for those destinations. So there is still real demand there from customers that they want to go to these bucket list destinations. And for us, I think, yes, people are booking primarily now a little bit further out. They're booking into next year because they want to leave that lead time, I guess, between what's going on currently and when they think they'll be able to travel again. But bucket list is kind of the thing at the moment. So higher average spend, wanting to go away for longer. We've got a group of customers really at Saga, all over 50, but the reality is our average age is more like 65, so they're actually a little bit older. They're retired. They haven't actually been as adversely financially impacted by the pandemic. If anything, a lot of them have actually had more time at home and perhaps saved money versus the lifestyle they were living pre-COVID. More money in the bank and have time to travel. And we do a lot of consumer research, and the overriding theme is that they've lost or wasted time. They feel like they've had time taken away from them. So they want to travel and they want to make up for that. So I think, we've all talked about it for some time, that we hope we're heading towards a really positive time for the industry. I think there are really, really good signs there that we are going in that direction, and that there is going to be a really positive time ahead where people travel longer, spend more, and do those bucket list trips.
Well, I think that's a perfect, crossing fingers, a perfect note to end on. Thank you so much for all of you. How fantastic to talk about the big return, because it is coming, and I think we're all crossing fingers and touching wood that it's sooner rather than later. But thank you so much to all of you, and we're going to now move to the live Q&A. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live Q&A. We were just talking about various ridiculous government policies, as I'm sure many in the audience could empathise with. Welcome to everybody joining. I can see everyone's coming through. We have had some questions asked. I'm going to put the first question to you guys, because I can see James Hill has joined us. His first question from him was, what's both of your policies with regards to protecting agents' commission to any degree on cancelled bookings where clients have been refunded? Tom, I'll come to you first, and then Mark, I'll come to you.
So if the customer's asking for a full refund, we're unable to protect that, and just sheer volumes that we're doing. But if a customer chooses to go onto a sort of a future cruise credit type thing for touring, a holding credit, then that credit can only be used with the agent they booked with originally. So they couldn't then go and use that elsewhere. So that would protect your commission if they've chosen to hold it, have a think about it and book further down the line. So we are doing that for travel agents, but we're unable to do it on just a normal full refund at the moment.
Okay. And Mark, what's Gold Medal's policy?
Yeah, the policy from Gold Medal is fairly similar to Tom. Obviously, we did protect agents' commission when clients chose to take a credit note, and obviously that would be held over to the new booking. The agents would not earn commission on the new booking if the customer was to use the credit note, obviously, because again, we've protected that up front.
Okay. Thank you, James. I hope that answers your question. I'm just checking. I don't think the person who asked the second question has yet joined us, so I will just wait for 1 second while she joins us. But in the meantime, we'd just like to hear from you both. I think, Mark, you alluded to it during the panel discussion, but I'm just interested. We've heard lots of comments from people saying that actually a lot of customers do have more disposable income. Not if they work in travel, probably, but in many other sectors, they have more disposable income to spend. And so they are looking for longer breaks. They're looking to spend a bit more. Are both of you seeing that trend?
Yeah, certainly. We're seeing customers looking for more aspirational destinations and tours, particularly those items that would have been traditionally on the bucket list. So, we're getting a few bookings into Antarctica on adventure sailing ships. We've also seen treks up the Kilimanjaro, obviously not going to the Everest degree, but certainly, something that's going to be challenging and once in a lifetime experience. So again, I think because we've all been locked up for the past 18 months, people are now looking to do that. And certainly from my own perspective, I've done the same. I'm due to go to Peru in October to do Machu Picchu, so I'm fingers crossed. And then I've just looked at booking the Trans-Mongolian Express for next year because, again, I want to get out and experience the world before we ever have anything like this again.
Fantastic. Because, of course, of all the sectors, touring and adventure is the one that everyone's probably going to be itching to do, like you said, because we've just been locked up, not doing anything for the last 15 months. Tom, are you seeing a similar trend? Are clients wanting to spend longer and spend more on these sort of bucket list type holidays?
Yeah, 100%. Our long haul business is certainly for 2022 has grown significantly. Customers even transferring their holiday from this year. So, even a few weeks ago, we actually had a customer who was due to go to Spain with us in June. And they've actually moved that to a Canada tour for next year because they just sort of feel they want to get away and do something a bit different. North America in particular, certainly over the last month or two, has really been a destination. Sort of the holidays over there have really been very popular with our customers. I think it's seen as somewhere that's probably going to open up a little bit sooner. But Deep South USA, Canada in particular, those two destinations have been very strong for the last couple of months.
Oh, fantastic. Well, yeah, that's good to hear. We want to see those long haul bookings coming in, don't we? And welcome to those of you who've just joined us. Do not worry if you think you've missed some questions because we will be making this session on demand afterwards. Yanina, I've seen that you've joined us. You had a question asking both operators, and apologies for those that have joined us. Ian was sadly unable to join us for the live Q&A because he's on a ship right now. He's getting out there on his cruise ships. But guys, what is your procedures with cancellation due to a positive test? So if a customer does test positive and they aren't able to then go on the trip, Tom, what's Riviera's policy?
So we do have our COVID cancellation protection. So if a customer did test positive before, then we would offer them a full refund or move them to another date. So we have got some testing in place, and as I mentioned before, we are covering the cost of testing for customers that are due to depart later this year. As well. So that's what we've got in place for that at the moment. But also just touching on a bit further on that, I suppose, is we also do have full policies in place for if anyone was to test positive on a tour further down the line as well. So we do have full stringent policies in place to make sure that everyone else will be safe and looked after as well on that. So it's something our operations team have spent a lot of time over the last few months worrying themselves about so the customers don't have to.
I bet. And Mark, what about you? If a customer tests positive before they're due to come, and then in a minute I'll ask about what if they're on holiday when they test positive. But Mark, what if they're based in the UK, they're due to travel in 2 days' time, they test positive?
We would look to work with our partners, obviously delivering that product, and look to see whether or not we could move it free of charge for them to a more suitable date. or we would obviously look to secure the refund as long as obviously the supplier isn't incurring any costs. So obviously we would have to look at that on a case-by-case basis and work to get the best possible solution.
And then what about, same question to both of you, what about if a customer is on holiday, they're on a tour, they test positive when they're due to fly back into the UK, because obviously they have to provide this negative lateral flow test. Tom, what's Riviera's policy? Is it down to the customer to fund their own hotel bill, and I guess comes down to travel insurance?
No, so we haven't sort of put a very full, comprehensive, stringent policy of what we will 100% not do. But what I can assure is, the moment we want. The good thing about going with us is we will look after your customers all the way. So if your customer was to test positive whilst they were out there, we would either work with their insurance company. We wouldn't just ditch them and leave them to be on their own. So, where we've had instances of customers falling ill in the past on holidays, obviously pre-COVID, we've had tour managers are generally based in the destination, so they can come and check up on people or help them out. So we would work with the insurance company, make sure the customers sorted, whether they've got the hotel to quarantine in for the next however long the period is in the destination they're in, and we'd work with them, and then we'd help secure the flights to get them back as well. So we wouldn't leave the customer at all on their own. I think a good example just in general was when we were operating tours last year to Italy. They changed Italy, they closed the borders whilst we had a tour out there. But because of us being a tour operator and we're looking after your customers the whole way, we secured the flights to bring all the customers back 24 hours early and did all that so the customers didn't have to worry about, we saw the scenes at Faro Airport from a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
If you're booking a tour, all that worry and all that stress is taken off your hands, because us as the tour operator will do that on your behalf and for your customers. So we went out and secured the flights. When the borders closed early last year, when we had customers in Morocco and there's no flights back, Riviera as a business, we chartered 2 planes, first time we've ever chartered planes, to get the customers back, because there was no other way of getting them back. So as an operator, whilst we don't have a full, we'll 100% do this, I can assure you we will 100% look after your customer, because we always have in the past and we always will do going forward.
So agents can say to their customers, you've got peace of mind when booking.
100%.
Okay, and Mark, same question. Is there a policy that Gold Medal's got in place for if a customer tests positive while they're abroad and in resort and due to fly home?
Yeah, I think it's fairly similar to what Tom said. Obviously, making sure that the customer is looked after from start to finish, and certainly as a tour operator, that onus does lie with ourselves. So obviously, we would support the customer in conjunction with their insurance company to make sure that, as Tom said, we've got the accommodation so that they can quarantine for the time frame that is necessary, and then look to work with the insurance company to get them home as quickly as possible, and obviously making that as painless as possible for the customer as well. I think that's a key thing, is making sure that the customer is reassured and feels confident that they're going to get the support to get home, because I couldn't think of anything worse than falling ill overseas. So certainly I think that's just the key message, is to get that across to your customers. As a tour operator, we'll work to ensure that you get home safely.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, both. I can see we've got 1 minute left, so I'm just going to ask very quickly. We've talked about long hauls, obviously huge demand for long haul, mainly in 2022. Just interested if you've got any appetite for the rest of 2021. Is there still appetite for short haul products later on this year? Tom, very quickly, and then Mark.
So yeah, we have got customers booking. I'd say honestly, people are booking from September onwards. But we are, as a business, we're still gearing up to try and take people away this year. We've still got full hope we can. So yeah, there is a small appetite there, and we expect it to come back. Once the government eventually can sort themselves out on what.
Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, certainly. We're seeing short haul demand. Obviously, we've just launched Little Big Incredible Journeys. So you'll see in there the Best of Iceland, Best Glorious Switzerland tours. They will be operating later in the year. But again, it's one of those pieces where we're subject to the government conditions. So we are looking at bookings from November onwards. Again, just to give customers a little bit more time to be reassured that those will go ahead.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Sorry, we whistled through that, but please can I invite everybody to click onto the next training session with Birmingham Airport, and a huge, huge thank you to Tom and Mark and Ian for the panel too.
Thank you very much, Sophie.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.